Brother May to have a chat with you all.
By the way, you just got hi from Indonesia, hi from Costa Rica, hi from
everybody.
Hi from Argentina.
Amazing. Well, hi everybody from Indonesia, Argentina, Costa Rica, and around the world. That's so cool that you're tuning in. Happy Earth Day to everybody.
Happy Earth Day indeed. Okay, well, it looks like we're live on everything. We should be live now on Facebook, your YouTube page, just about everywhere. So.
Wow, cool. Let's try out all the technology here.
Yeah, let's get into the agenda. So, the tagline for this is Earth Day Live with Tim Laman, right? And sort of the agenda is, I figured we'd start with a little background, a little who is Tim Laman, maybe some brief interview questions. And, I know you have a ton of followers, some of which probably know everything about you, but, a whole bunch probably know just a little bit about you. So I think do a little education there. Then you're running a huge charity donation to celebrate Earth Day for two great organizations. So I thought we would cover a little bit of that and go over that. And then as a final, open it up for some Q&A. Whether you want to ask questions on Instagram, we'll get to the questions on Instagram. If you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, we can grab your questions from there and then just kind of see how it goes with the time that you have, if that works.
All right, that sounds good.
Okay, wonderful. One thing I'll say for everybody that's watching on Instagram, we don't have the screen share going on over there. So I'm going to have to kind of moderate this thing and let you know what we're sometimes sharing on the screen, but I'll do the best I can to sort of say, here's what we're looking at, here's what we're doing. If you are watching on YouTube or Facebook, you'll get to see the screen share, which I think will be great. But why don't you, this is funny because I'm asking you to introduce yourself on your own social platforms, but why don't you introduce yourself, a word or two? Who's Tim Laman?
All right. Well, thanks, Patrick. I think, since you're following me on Instagram, you probably know that I'm a wildlife photographer, but my background is as a biologist. I'm a field biologist. I specialize in rainforest ecology, worked in Indonesia for many years doing research, and then I transitioned into doing photography and filmmaking. And although I work all around the world for National Geographic and the BBC and Cornell Lab of Ornithology, other organizations doing photography and filming, two of my really long-term projects that I've been working on for actually decades are related to what we want to really focus on today on Earth Day. And that's, I've been working on orangutans, documenting the lives of wild orangutans in Borneo for like 30 years now. And then I've also, for like the last 15 years, I've been going to the Indonesian part of New Guinea, Papua, West Papua, and also Papua New Guinea to document the birds of paradise. And so those two long-term projects tie into what I especially want to bring attention to for Earth Day.
Amazing. And as I was preparing sort of to what interview questions do I want to ask Tim, so I started doing some homework on you and everything else. And I've got Instagram. I've got his website pulled up, his fine art website pulled up on the right hand side. And you scroll down and you look at this, and you've won just about every single solitary wildlife photography award that exists, period. And I definitely challenge people to go and look at some of these things that he's won, because it's just absolutely crazy. But I love this little grid that you have down at the bottom. One, this is just not a normal photographer's achievements. Okay. One, you have a PhD from Harvard. Okay. And what is that in exactly?
That's in rainforest ecology. Yeah.
Which is amazing. 22 award-winning images of Wildlife Photographer of the Year, 23 feature stories published in National Geographic magazine, 39 species of birds of paradise photographed, 98 expeditions for photography and/or research, 700 plus big tree rope climbs, 1,000 plus photography scuba dives, 11 million Instagram followers, and you've literally flown around the earth 100 times. And so I looked at all of that and I realized that there used to be two, okay? There was the Dos Equis guy and Tim, but now you are quite literally the most interesting man in the world. And to have all of those accomplishments, to have traveled to all of those places, as I sort of thought about the questions that I wanted to ask you and all that, and especially as I look at that grid with all your accomplishments, I'd love to spend a minute talking about the nitty gritty side of it, right? I mean, what else could you add to that list, right? 150,000 plus hours waiting in sweltering jungle heat to try and get a photo of a particular bird, right? Over 550,000 different bug bites on every single solitary part of your body, right? Over 250,000 miles driven in a beat up 4-wheel drive truck over the bumpiest terrain in the world. I'd love to hear just a bit of, it's so easy to see these exotic places that you've been to, right? Like the most beautiful places in the world, but I know that the travel to those places is not easy. The amount of time and energy and effort that you have to invest to get these shots. I'd love for you to talk about some of the less glamorous aspects of how hard you work to get these photographs.
Yeah, I think it's easy to just look at the pictures and think about well, how amazing it must have been to be there and see that, and certainly that is a very satisfying part of the job. But just for example, photographing orangutans, to photograph orangutans in the wild is extremely challenging because they are solitary animals that live in the rainforest, and they're very low density naturally on the ground, and so I work closely with a team of researchers in Guinea National Park who are following orangutans in the wild. But I still have to go out there, team up with the researchers who are tracking a particular orangutan, and carry my camera gear, a big telephoto lens on a camera on a tripod, carry that through the rainforest like all day long, waiting for moments when I have a view of the orangutan. And the orangutan might cross the river because the trees are bridging streams and rivers. So I might be like waiting across the river, carrying my camera in my arm, up to my knees in the water, climbing up on the other side, going through mud and, up and down hills, and trying to, just usually during the course of maybe a 12-hour day following orangutans, I may only get a few chances when I can see the orangutan clearly through the foliage, and B, the orangutan's doing something interesting, and there's some kind of good light, so it's just a lot of physical effort and a lot of time to get a few opportunities. That's one example of orangutan, and not to mention the leeches and the bugs and other discomfort. You kind of have to have a high tolerance for discomfort to just spend all day out in the rainforest, bushwhacking. You're not on a trail. Orangutans are not following trails. They're just going wherever they want to go, right? So you're just bushwhacking through the undergrowth, and trying to get in position to get a good shot. So, but it all pays off when things come together, and you have that brief moment when you have the beautiful light and the orangutans doing something cool, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And Noel had a great question here from Instagram that I just saw. Is like, what's the longest time you waited to photograph a specific species?
Well, actually, I don't know exactly, but here's one example. One of the pictures I posted, like 10 pictures on Instagram this morning. One of them is one of the birds of paradise, a black one called the magnificent rifle bird. It's doing this display where it's moving its head rapidly. We waited, my colleague Ken Scholes and I from Cornell, we spent about 2 weeks in blinds, about 90 hours of sitting in blind time to try to get a picture of that bird displaying, and he came and displayed once for about 90 seconds.
Oh my gosh.
So after 90 hours of waiting, I had 90 seconds to get the shot. And so that would be an example of one of the more, one of the more tough ones where we waited it out, but we knew he would eventually come back to that spot and do a display. And so it was worth it, because I got an image that hasn't been made before, and wrapped up another, one of the 39 birds of paradise in a way that photographed it in a way that was interesting, not just like sitting on the branch. So
amazing. I've got one for you. What animal scared you to death the most?
Well, I haven't done a lot of photography of dangerous predators and stuff. I mostly do all my birds, primates, things like that. But I have worked I did a story about mangrove forests for National Geographic some years ago. And I went to Bangladesh to one of the biggest mangrove forests called the Sundarbans. And we were out I went out with these honey hunters who were out collecting honey, and they were just sort of bushwhacking through the mangroves, doing these sweeps, trying to look for honey. And the thing that was most unnerving was the animal that I couldn't see, which was the tiger that is known to, hunt people in that area. And the problem was we kept running across fresh tracks, like very fresh tracks from the previous that were after the most recent high tide, because we were going to an area that is a mud flat. The tide had just gone down, and there's like fresh tiger tracks everywhere. And I'm like, I don't think we should really be in here. I was pretty unnerved, and I decided after that to wait on the boat until the guys found a honey hive, and then just go in there and photograph them.
Probably the smarter way to go. Yeah. We have another one, which is an interesting question, and then I think we pivot into your Earth Day drive, which is, what are the worst weather conditions you've been caught in while in the field?
Worst weather? Well, I've been caught in pretty much everything from snowstorms to, thunderstorms. Probably the kind of worst place I got caught in some weather was when I was up in the top of a tree, trying to make a blind, trying to finish constructing the blind, but I really wanted to finish, one in the middle of the day when the birds weren't there, so that I could come back the next morning and film them when it got light. And so I'm racing to build this blind, but I see a thunderstorm coming, and I think I can finish it in time, and then I don't, and all of a sudden it's like pouring rain, and it's like, lightning, and like the tree is shaking, and I'm thinking, like, I really shouldn't be up here in the top of a tree during the lightning storm. So yeah, that was one of my less savvy moments in the canopy. Yeah, I did get out of there without finishing the blind. Just fell down my wet rope in the pouring rain, and I had to go back later.
Amazing. Now I can see out of a lot of the comments that you have, a tremendous amount of aspiring photographers that follow you, right? And want to figure out how did you get to this level? How did you do everything? And I saw a line when I was sort of researching, preparing for this, where you called it more of a lifestyle than a job. More of a lifestyle than a job, and that really stuck out to me. I was wondering if you could speak to that for a moment.
Sure. I mean, to do what I do, it's definitely not a 9-to-5 job. I'm actually on a shoot right now. I got up at 5 this morning to go out and be ready for sunrise. Basically, I'm just I think to do this kind of work, to be a wildlife photographer, you have to just really have a passion for it, and you can't think of it as a job. If you aren't, just motivated to get up before sunrise and go out and be ready to shoot. I guess in terms of like the life, for example, whenever I'm traveling, whether it's on assignment, like my family, they can't really tell the difference sometimes. If they're with me in a person trip, I'm still always trying to like some wildlife photography. I'm always kind of combining work and play, so to speak, and taking every opportunity to do photography, right? Whether it's nature and landscape, wildlife. Ever since I was a student, I've kind of crafted my lifestyle, the opportunities that I pursued, whether to be, volunteer as a field assistant, so I could go work in a cool place, and I could get some biology field experience, but also I could do photography there. And, everything through my career, when I was doing my PhD research in Borneo, exploring, I did a lot of research climbing trees and studying plant life in the canopy. And wildlife in the canopy, and I also use that as an opportunity to give me really unique photo opportunities, right? And I kind of turned my PhD project into my first National Geographic story. So it's just been a really kind of a lifelong, pursuit of my sort of passion for photography and wildlife and exploring the world, and they kind of go hand in hand. But it's definitely, not like a real job.
Yeah. And it's interesting, right? Because in my own context, I talk to so many different photographers that are trying to figure out how to make it. And so many of them are nature, and so many of them are landscape based, and they're trying to figure it out, and they're trying to figure how they can distinguish themselves amongst so many that are taking these photos, right? And it might have been hyperbole to call you the most interesting man in the world, but pre-COVID, it was the conversations that you would be in a different corner of the globe every single solitary time, right? Then COVID hit and you can't go anywhere. And the photos I'm seeing then, he's out in the woods somewhere by his house, spending hours shooting some sort of local bird. So this is the lines between job and passion with you don't start or stop anywhere, right? This is just authentic layman. So here's one for you, and then I got to be sensitive to your time, so I want to get into the charity drive. Is if you could go back, just getting started, Tim Layman, and give yourself one piece of career advice, what would it be? Knowing everything that you know now.
That's kind of a tricky one. What would I advise my younger self? I guess, I pretty much did what I was just saying there were, I don't know, there were moments when I was a little bit hesitant about taking the risk of pursuing this career path, right? I mean, I was when I was in school and deciding what to do in grad school and so on. I'm sure a lot of people have this. There were moments when I was uncertain about pursuing this rather unconventional career, but I went for it, right? So I lost a little time in there, kind of trying out other things. I guess going back, I would just go for it even sooner. I maybe lost a few years in my 20s when I was kind of trying to figure things out, and I would just be like, go for it.
Burn the proverbial boats earlier.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only thing that really comes to mind. But yeah, let's talk about what I'm trying to do for Earth Day and raise some special attention for.
So let me get the screen share up for everybody that's watching on YouTube or watching on Facebook. And I should mention that if you're watching, the link for this particular charity effort is located anywhere that you're watching the stream. If you are watching the stream on Instagram, you can click through at any point to his bio, and you can get access to this particular page. And Tim came up with a really interesting concept, which is a charity drive, okay, which he calls his Earth Day Raffle for Conservation. And it's to support two organizations. And I want to get into the organizations in a minute, but I think let me just state at a high level what your charity drive is. 100% of the proceeds are going to be split between these two organizations, which we'll get into in a minute. We'll have Tim talk about them, which is one, Save the Wild Orangutans, and two, this Pata Conservasi dan Komitas. You're gonna have to give me how to pronounce that one, which is to save the birds of paradise and their habitats.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting about this thing is you can donate as little as $10, okay, to enter in to win one of Tim's two prints, one of which is a red bird of paradise, and the other one, which is called Entwined Lives, the Orangutan Climb, which is an award-winning photograph. The second tier is for a donation of $50. You have the option to win one of three 30 by 20 inch Leicester photo prints of anything from Tim's bestseller gallery, which these images are ridiculous. I mean, these are some of the most amazing images you've ever seen. And then my most favorite, which is number 3, for you aspiring photogs out there, for a $100 donation, you'll get entered in to win a 1-hour Zoom call with Tim, just you two, to talk about anything. So if you're an aspiring photographer, or if you want to become a photojournalist, or you want to just understand how he gets these shots, or you want to look inside of his gear bag, or pick his brain any which way you like, all of that is completely good to go. And I think you have a couple of the prints, right? So you can
I can show you. Yeah, so yeah, like Patrick said, everybody, this is a fundraiser that's 100% for charity, and it's for two conservation groups that I work closely with. the first being the birds of paradise. So here's one of my bird of paradise shots, the red bird of paradise displaying at the top of the canopy. I have a sample here, this 12-inch. Enter as little as $10 into. If you donate as little as $10, then you can donate. If you want to get $20 or $30, $40, any amount you want, you can donate multiple times. Enter multiple times. You have a chance to. I'm gonna give away 5 of these. 5 winners from this fundraiser. And I'm also going to give away 5 of the orangutan prints, which is this pen here of the orangutan tree climb called Entwined Lives, the orangutan climbing the strangler fig root. So 10 chances to win, everybody. So just contribute as little as $10. And remember, you may not win. Hopefully you'll win, but you may not. It's a donation to help out these groups. And the first one, the Papua Conservation Community is a NGO, a non-government organization, small NGO that works in Papua and West Papua, Indonesia, where many of paradise live, and where I've been photographing them, working with the local communities. And what this group does is they, Patrick's pulling up their website here for those of you following on some of the streams. What they do is they work with the local communities to help them develop grassroots ecotourism. And so, like when I go there, I pay the local guides to take me into the forest. I pay them to help carry all my heavy camera gear. I stay in a little village guest house that the villagers have built for visitors, and I pay them. I buy my food there. And so I'm supporting the local economy, and that has caught on. Other visitors who go there to see the birds and other wildlife, I've started doing the same thing. And the local communities are really, they're getting a good source of income there. And it's motivated them to protect their forest. They own the land, and they could be cutting down the trees and selling the trees, but they realized, hey, if we bring bird watchers here to see the birds of paradise, and they pay us to stay in our village and to go, hire us as guides, we can make a living, and we don't have to cut down the forest. And so they started protecting the birds. They banned the kids in the village from having slingshots, because the kids like to go out with slingshots and shoot birds, and they banned slingshots and other, just on their own conservation initiatives. And so this NGO, we're training people to help them do this, to teach them English, to guides, to help them learn how to run a guest house, some of the just basic things that they need help with to be able to set up this kind of tourism in their villages. And so that's the group, the Papua Conservation. I'm half the donations too. And the other half is
we do have one question. Are you going to ship internationally to the winners?
We will ship internationally. Yes, we'll ship anywhere. Yep.
Yeah. So somebody was asking if it could ship to India.
Yeah. Don't hesitate if you're international. We're happy to ship internationally as well. Yep. We'll take that cost on. So the second group that I'm going to kind of split the donations between is the Save Wild Orangutans organization, which I've been working closely with, and is a NGO that's focused around the orangutan population of Gunung Palung National Park, which is in western Borneo. It is in the Indonesian part of Borneo, and it's one of the most important remaining wild populations of orangutans. And there you can learn more at the website, savewild-orangutans.org. Patrick's pulling it up there. So 100% of all the proceeds half of the proceeds that are being split between the Birds of Paradise and this orangutan group. They work also with the communities and the national park to help them facilitate their activities to protect the national park, because there's just a lot of education that can be done, supporting the local communities around the park to help them have better livelihoods that don't involve logging and other activities that disturb the park. And the Save Wild Orangutans organization, they do a lot of educational programs in all the local schools around the national park to help the kids learn about conservation, learn about orangutans. So so I hope you can consider making a donation. And the bonus is you make a donation, you get a chance to win something. You win a print, win a small print like I just showed you, for a minimum $10 donation. If you make a $50 donation, you can win win one of my 30-inch prints, and I'm going to give away 3 of those. And if you're feeling generous and want to make a $100 donation, that's great. You don't have to be interested in talking to me. You can just give a $100 donation, and it'll all go to the charity. But we thought we would offer a little bonus to anybody that wants to give $100 to this great cause. That I'll take some time and organize at your convenience a 1-hour Zoom call that we can talk about, photography or anything you like.
So there you have it. Three donation tiers: $10, $50, $100. You can win a 1-hour Zoom call, any topic you want, with the most interesting man in the world. Absolutely fantastic. And then we should say, in addition to that, your entire website's on sale as well. Is that correct?
That is true. Yes, you can also take advantage of my print sale. So I've decided to also just put my prints on sale. So I've got 25% off all my open edition prints. So any of the images that I posted some of the favorites on my Instagram this morning. But you can go to timlaymanfineart.com and check it out. Everything's on sale.
And yes, we're getting questions about whether or not you can donate from places other than the USA. Yes, absolutely you can. We would be hugely appreciative. People are asking if you speak Spanish for the Zoom session. Right now, what, just English and Japanese for you? Maybe we'll get a translator.
Yeah, I can speak conversational Japanese because I grew up in Japan. I can speak conversational Indonesian because I've been working in Indonesia for 30 years, and but my Spanish is survival level, But I'm
Claudia, más o menos posible. Más o menos posible.
Más o menos posible. Yeah.
Classic. Well, wonderful. I love the donation drive. I think it's just an incredible idea. What an incredible way to celebrate Earth Day. Both of these countries where these phenomenal animals live have gotten hit so hard from COVID. So hard. I mean, almost complete elimination of any of the ecotourism. So they need our help more than ever. And especially now.
That's a key point. I didn't mention that, but that's one reason I really want to help support this, the ecotourism group, because they lost all this great kind of thing they had going of hosting visitors for ecotourism as a way of protecting the forest, making a living. That kind of disappeared with COVID, right? So for the last year, these folks have really lost their sort of nice income stream from visitors that they've been building up. And so I just want to send some funds their way to help them get through this tough time. And hopefully, some of you could head out there after COVID. You can go to Indonesia, you can visit the land of the birds of paradise and see them for yourselves. But in the meantime, you can help with a little donation, help those folks get through and help keep protecting the forest.
Amazing. And so, yes, people are asking if they can buy that bird picture behind me, 25% off. Yes, his entire bestsellers gallery, I believe, or all the prints.
Yes. Yep. The whole all the birds images are the whole gallery's on sale. So if you were interested, Patrick's put up one of the favorite bird of paradise pictures of the lesser bird of paradise behind him on his screen there. If you're on Facebook, all on sale. You can check them out. And also, of course, if you don't win the raffle and you want to buy one of the prints that's being given away, of course, you can always do that.
Amazing. So I think at that point we've gone 28 minutes. Tim right now is located in a super secret location in some strange hotel where he's already had a morning session photographing something which we are not allowed to indulge. So he's on a tight deadline for the hour session. So I think at this point we could just open it up for Q&A. We're seeing the questions come in all over the place from everywhere. And do you have any questions for Tim that you'd like him to answer? And I should say too, yes, you guys can donate from anywhere. Yes, I see, just based on your follow. I mean, you literally have followers from all over the world. So, just liking and commenting and sharing is awesome too. You can find Tim's website. It's pinned to this particular comment on Facebook, on YouTube. There are a bunch of links in his bio. If you're on Instagram, you can find the webpage right after the fact. Check out the sale. Love for you to share it. It's going to run until Monday, I believe. Monday at midnight Eastern. So it's open till then. But you couldn't be supporting two greater organizations, and these are two extremely well-run organizations without massive bloat or administration fees or anything of the like. I mean, these donations are passing through and going directly to helping preserve these animals, their habitats. So I think that's it's an awesome way. It's an awesome way to give back this Earth Day and protect some of the most beautiful species on this planet. Okay, your first question is, what is the process to work with you?
Well, thanks for asking. It's always great to have people interested in joining me in the field. I guess the process to work with me, you can reach out by email and contact me. I have people contact me regularly who are interested in working as assistants. I will say I don't hire assistants a lot because I often just I try to work with local people in the countries that I'm going to, and support the local development there. And but on occasion, I need somebody with special skills to join me in the field on certain projects. So I do keep a list of people who send me information expressing interest. So I appreciate the interest, but I do mostly work by myself or with a really small crew.
Got it. We got a great one. We got a great one from Mark, and then because I saw you asked this earlier, what are the differences between photographing orangutans and I can never pronounce it right like you do, orangutans in Borneo versus Sumatra?
Okay, well, yes, orangutans are just only found in those two big islands, right? Borneo and Sumatra, those big islands in East Asia. And I have mostly worked in Borneo with the Bornean orangutans. I've only photographed orangutans in Sumatra one time, so don't have that much experience there. But basically, it's the same. If you're photographing truly wild orangutans, it's the same thing. You would need to get permission from the national park or the nature reserve, or you might be going, and you would probably have local guides to help you go out and find them. And that would be different from going to like one of the rehabilitation centers where they might have some ex-captive orangutans that you could photograph in a semi-wild situation, right? That'd be very different. But photographing really wild orangutans really requires, the proper permission and proper local contacts and guides, and then just getting all the force looking for them and following.
Okay, amazing. I totally just learned something. I didn't know it was just those two islands. So this is another one. How has your work with Dr. Pillai on the helmeted hornbill been, and how is your experience in the Thai Deep South?
Well, yes, hornbills have been another real special interest of mine, and I had the great pleasure to work with Dr. Pillai Punswad from Thailand. She's a leading hornbill researcher in Thailand and probably in Southeast Asia. And I've worked with her on several different projects, going back to the first story I did on hornbills back in 1997. I started in 97. I think it might have been published in 99, something like that. But I met her way back then. And more recently, I did a coverage on helmeted hornbills, which is probably one ancient hornbill in Southeast Asia. And I was in Thailand just a couple of years ago, in 2018, 2019, photographing them. So that's a very challenging species. They're very rare in the wild. We really need to educate people about the not buying these hornbill products that are made out of the hornbill cask, because that's driving them to extinction because of this market hunting. And so, anyway, it was a great pleasure to work with Pillai, work in Thailand, and try to help spread the word about this critical species.
Here's an interesting one. Have you published, or are you thinking about publishing a book of your adventures and pics, and specifically for those with a lesser income?
Okay, well, yes, I have published some books already. The kind of most major book project I already published was on the birds of paradise. That's available, wherever books are sold online and in many stores still, although it was published about years ago. So search for Birds of Paradise with my name, and you'll find it. And that includes not only pictures of all the 39 species of birds of paradise, but we also have a lot of sections in there of our behind the scenes stories of how I made the different pictures, or adventures, so on. So that's probably the most easily sourced book that's already out there. And yes, I'm actually currently just starting to work on another book project of my bird photography, which is going to be kind of a collection of my bird photography from every continent except for Europe. Sorry, Europe. I haven't really photographed birds in Europe, but everywhere else where there are less people, Africa, South America, Antarctica, Australia, and all many places in Asia, I've photographed birds, as well as North America. And so I'm actually just beginning to kind of edit kind of a collected work. So I'm going to have a lot of sort of behind the scenes stories on that as well. So that's going to probably be a year or two in the making, but you can stay tuned for that. I'll keep you updated. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to put out an edition, affordable edition that'll be paperback or something like that down the road. That would be affordable for anybody.
Okay, wonderful. We have a whole group of questions that are sort of about travel that I think I can like sort of quickly summarize here and ask you in one question. Quickly,
Okay.
Have you been to Chile?
I have only been to Chile kind of as a stopover on the way to Antarctica, but I would like to spend more time in Chile. Yeah, so definitely on my list.
By the way, that's about where I get with every single solitary country question. If he hasn't been there, he's stopped by, which is still he's been on the soil. That's just this is a very difficult game to play with him. He's been, in my experience, he's been there. But I see a whole bunch of different questions, and I feel like you have a bunch of followers that would like to do some of this wildlife photography, and they would like to travel to some of these places. And sort of what's your tip for someone that doesn't necessarily have the whole backing and sponsorship and this and that, right? To get into some of these countries, to get in to see some of these wildlife, and then probably not the whole budget for a huge ecotourism type.
Sure. I mean, I think the thing to do is to start closer to home. Start with whatever, start with the things you have access to, whether it's your neighbor, closest parks to where you live, or someplace that you can drive to, or take public transportation, depending on, what country you're in. I mean, I actually grew up in Japan. When I was a kid, I lived in Japan. In Japan, you can take the train like anywhere. You can take the train up into a little village up in the mountains, and you can hike up into the mountains. You don't need a car. And there are, many countries that are like that. So I could go, on my own and go up to the mountains and do landscape, take beautiful landscapes at sun, camp out, do landscape photography, So I would say, well, there are a lot of things you can do on a budget. So don't feel like you have to go, get a plane ticket to go to, some exotic place to just start in wildlife photography. Start closer to home. And then work your way up, work your way up to trips that you can afford. But when I was younger, I traveled around the world on a shoestring. I traveled around on a shoestring budget, jumping on charter flights or, discount fares to go to places that I wanted to see. And, just, work with what your resources you have available. And there's a lot you can do.
Amazing. Okay, I got one from the interesting screen name of I'm a Ogre. I'm a Ogre. You and I see eye to eye. I like this question. Which birds of paradise was the most difficult, challenging to photograph, and why? And then the second question, which is what I'm really curious about too. What is the best season to visit Papua New Guinea, and the best to see the birds? Oh, and how many days ideal do you think does that trip need?
Okay. I'll start with the second part. So the birds of paradise, they mostly display. You want to kind of go there when the males are in their full plumage, and because they drop off all those fancy plumes and regrow them every year. So if you get there and they've dropped all their plumes, not so great. So you want to go during the breeding season, which is the second half of the year. So most of my trips are between like July to December. July to November, so that's probably the best season to go. And probably September, October is the peak of birds of paradise action. Very reliable time to. And as far as is the most difficult one to photograph, I guess I would have to say it was really not based on the actual photography, but it was based on like just getting to where the bird lived, and that was one of the Proteas, which are the black ones that do the ballerina dance on the ground, and there are about 5 different species of those. One of them is called the bronze Protea, and it is only found in one mountain range in the western part of New Guinea in West Papua. It's only found in one remote mountain range that's uninhabited. Okay, there are no roads, there's no trails. And so I joined up, fortunately, I was fortunate enough to be able to join up with a scientific expedition, a team of scientists that were going there by helicopter and getting dropped off for 3 weeks to go survey the biodiversity there. And I was able to go along with them and actually cover it for National Geographic. If I hadn't been able to do that, it would have been too expensive or impractical for me to by myself charter a helicopter and fly all the way in there, or it's just not possible to hike in there. So bronze Protea is probably the most challenging and probably the one that the fewest people in the world have seen, because it's just lives only in this extremely remote mountain range.
Smart bird. That sounds very safe. That's very safe. You're getting a variety of questions about, entry-level photographic gear, and what your recommendations would be sort of around that. Aside from, of course, the camera that can actually take a picture, right? Start there. But from there, any sort of entry-level recommendations?
Yeah, sure. I mean, actually, you guys who are starting photography now are, so lucky, because the resources that you have, you can do amazing photography on your smartphone, right? Although, it is hard to get close-up pictures of a bird that's, far away with a phone. So you do need something with a longer lens. I guess what I would say is that any of the kind of entry-level SLR kind of camera or mirrorless cameras with a telephoto lens, whether it's Nikon, Canon, Sony, whatever, any of the kind of major brands that have a entry-level mirrorless or SLR camera that has like a 70 to 300 millimeter lens, something like that, pretty affordable. You can probably get a used one for a few $100s, right? So on eBay or whatever, or a new one between the 500 to 1,000 range. So that would be, I think, kind of your entry level. The quality that you can get with a camera like that is amazingly good. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay, wonderful on that. We've got a question from Claudia. How did you get started? First as a photojournalist and then as a naturalist, or the other way around?
My photography and interest in nature and photography kind of developed in parallel. I was always interested. I think my first real interest, I guess, when I was a teenager, I was interested in photography. I picked up a camera. I started using my dad's old cameras that he wasn't using too much. He let me borrow his cameras. I started taking pictures. I was also really into sort of hiking and biking and kind of exploring the mountains. And so much, I was more into the landscape and the adventure than the nature photography at first. But then in college, my interest in the nature and the outdoors kind of steered me to study biology. So I studied biology all through school, and I got more and more interested in photographing nature as I went through college and then grad school, and I just got more and more serious about my photography. So I had this kind of parallel interest in nature and photography that really developed throughout my early years.
Amazing. So, okay, I know we're getting up against it on your time. I'll grab one question somebody was asking. Have you been to Nepal? They're playing have you been there again?
I have been to Nepal. Yeah, I went.
There's nowhere.
I trekked into Everest Base Camp. Did some really great hiking and trekking there. And I would love to go back. Nepal is a beautiful country. I would love to do some more wildlife photography there in the lowlands. I was kind of interested in the mountains and trekking in the high country, but I would love to go back to Nepal.
Amazing. Okay, so you're almost up against it. As a final, huge charity raffle going on right now on timlaman.com. There's a link in his bio on Instagram. There is a link in this post if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. It'll be all over his socials. It ends Monday. You can donate $10, $50, up to $100 to win a range of different prizes. You can donate from anywhere. Tim is willing to ship internationally on all of these items. 100% of the proceeds go directly to those two organizations that we mentioned for the orangutans and saving the birds of paradise. And one of the amazing prizes, you know, selfishly, because I enjoy talking to this man so much, is for a $100 donation. Okay, you can get a 1-hour Zoom with Tim and ask him anything. It's an AMA, ask me anything within reason. Tim. You can get out the atlas and talk about every country one by one, and he can tell you he's been to all of them, or photographic techniques, or you know, interesting ways to travel, or you know, dig into the nuts and bolts of your forestry PhD, right? Like, ton of interesting stuff that you could interview Tim about, and you know, it's all going to an amazing cause. These animals really need our help. These countries have been devastated by COVID, and you know, the complete, you know, just drying up of the well of ecotourism. So I really feel like this Earth Day more than any other, this is just a really, really special cause.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. Thanks for organizing this from Art Storefronts, Patrick. Really appreciate it. And yeah, everybody, just to reiterate, you know, please consider making a contribution. And have a chance to win. I'll show you once again. Here's the Bird of Paradise for the minimum $10 donation. You got a chance to win this. We're giving away 5 of these to 5 different winners. I'm giving away 5 orangutan climbing the tree, entwined lives is the name of the print. Giving away 5 of those for anybody that donates $10 or more. And like Patrick said, there are other tiers. You can donate 50 to win larger 30-inch prints of your choice from my bestsellers gallery. Or, you know, if you're feeling generous and want to donate $100 to these great causes, they'll really appreciate it. And I'll enter you into a drawing to have a 1-hour Zoom chat. And so that will be fun. And I really hope you'll consider making a contribution. This Earth Day is kind of a great way to celebrate Earth Day. I've taken a chunk out of my day to kind of talk with you. Hope you've enjoyed it. I think it's been a lot of fun answering your questions. I'm going to get back to preparing for my afternoon photography session. I'm actually on a shoot right now. I'm going to be heading back out soon to do some more photography in the evening hours here when the light's good again. So, but I was able to come into the hotel room in the middle of the day here and do this live session. So, really enjoyed it. Thanks for following along. And once again, good luck. Hope you win one of the prizes. And thanks for your support.
Amazing. Final programming note, Tim. Save the Instagram live after it's done.
Sure thing.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. And I know that you've been up since 2 a.m. and all the rest. So really appreciate it. Great cause. Really hope you guys will donate. The entire raffle and donation ends on Monday, and somebody has got to win this Zoom call. And somebody's going to find the country Tim's never been to. Okay. Thank you, Tim. Have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thanks. Okay. Bye. Bye. A lot.